Welcome to another video. Now, today we're going to be looking at the Saturday 4-game fixtures for the Bundesliga and DraftKings, just taking a look at who are some of the must-have picks for the weekend's fixtures and just seeing what kind of a team we can create with the players that we've been given. So let's get straight into it. So we can see here we've got 4 fixtures. We've got Wolfsburg versus Dortmund. We've got Leverkusen versus Borussia Mönchengladbach. Hopefully that'll be a good game. 2 teams really scrapping for even just to be a part of the title race. Then we've got Paderborn versus Hoffenheim, and we've got Freiburg versus Werder Bremen. Now, really, when we're sort of building these lineups, we're looking to kind of build around set piece takers. Those are the players who are really going to give us a good floor to build off of, rather than those players who are just kind of goal hunting. At the end of the day, in a lot of these competitions, it does come down to goals. But if you've got a set piece taker who can bring you those sort of 10 to 15 points without scoring, then if they do score or get an assist, they can really just, you can fly up the leaderboard. So I think first things first, I'm just going to walk through who takes the set pieces for each team, and then we'll sort of build around that. So looking at the first fixture we have here, we have Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Leverkusen. Now, for Leverkusen, the main set piece taker is Demirbay. He came in with a very good score on Monday against Werder Bremen in that 4-1 victory. They just absolutely breezed over them. He came in with a goal and an assist, and basically their other set piece taker, this guy Amiri, who's only he's 1,000 cheaper. Amiri took a couple of crosses to start with, and Demirbay was just like, you know what, I'll be taking these from now on, and came in with about 7 crosses in the end, goal assist, great contributions, although we're not really expecting him to go and get a goal and assist again. And for 8.3k, there might be some other better options in the slate. Now, Hoffmann for Borussia Mönchengladbach is the main set piece taker for them. He had a decent game as well at the weekend, someone I slept on a little bit. He came in with an assist, had a few crosses, some shots. But I mean, even though he is the main set piece taker, we see here he gets quite a few crosses in, but he also doesn't actually have that great of a floor, especially being the set piece taker, and he really does rely on them goals and assists to actually bring his score up. So if we take a look at the Borussia Dortmund versus Wolfsburg game, we see that Jadon Sancho really is the main set piece taker for them. He has a brilliant floor, and he has a massive potential to bring you goal returns as well. We just see here, he's pulling in sort of 19 plus, 20 plus points week in, week out. He's going to be a hard player not to have, although he is the most expensive player on the slate. Someone like Haaland just below him does have the potential to score more goals than him. But also, if you look at someone maybe like Thorgan Hazard, who came in with a goal and an assist at the weekend, he could potentially, get the same points as Sancho, and is just under 2,000 cheaper than Sancho. So maybe a lot more value to have in a cheaper player. But Sancho on the corners, on the crosses, set pieces. Hazard does have a decent share of them, but Sancho is the main guy who's really going to be raking up the points. So if he has a good game and you don't have him, it's going to be hard to catch those points. So if we have a look at Wolfsburg now, the main player really for Wolfsburg is this guy Arnold. He's significantly more expensive than really any of their other players. That's because he's just on all their set pieces. If we take a look at his stats, he's getting the crosses in every game. He's got a great floor, even against the likes of Bayern Munich, as we see here. We see he's got an 11.4 without any kind of goal contribution. That's away from home as well. So I think this guy Arnold for 7.1k, even though it is against Dortmund, is kind of a must-have. I think he's a great value for money. And as we can see here, he's gone down 1.3k since his last game, even though he pulled out a 9.6, which is not too bad of a score. I feel like they definitely may have undervalued this guy a little bit. So definitely one I'm going to look out for and maybe build a few teams around. So if we take a look here at the Freiburg versus Werder Bremen game now, we have this guy Grifo. He comes in with a few set pieces, but I think a main guy definitely to look at for Freiburg is Günther. He's a very expensive defender at 5.8k, but I really do think you get your value for money, especially because if you're playing 5.8k for a midfielder who got this level of crosses, I mean, this is probably translates into a sort of 8 or 9k midfielder. But he gets this level of crosses in. He gets so many, like he gets shots on target. He gets assists. He gets goals, or the potential of getting assists and goals from a defensive position. Especially, he does have the potential as well to get a clean sheet. Freiburg haven't kept too many clean sheets this season, but with that potential of getting that extra 3-point boost, along with being having your fair share of set pieces, just being a very attacking fullback, I think Gunther is definitely one to look out for. But this guy Grifo as well, he has good potential as well. This guy Bittencourt, I really liked at the weekend. A lot of people had Rishika in their teams, but Bittencourt was really the guy who was slept on. He came in with 17.6 points against Leverkusen. He did get an assist, which is fair enough, but without the assist, he still gets 10 points. He had, he was on all of the set pieces, the corners, the free kicks. He literally had reign over it all. So I think he's definitely someone I'll be looking at bringing in again, and not as tough of a fixture as well against Freiburg. Freiburg are still doing well. They're 7th in the league, which is a bit worse than Leverkusen, but still they're doing well. So we're probably expecting Freiburg to win this one. But Bittencourt, for 6.8k set piece taker, he's probably, well, apart from Gunther, who's a defender, he's probably the cheapest set piece taker on the slate. So definitely one to consider in your team. Now we move on to our final fixture, and that is Paderborn versus Hoffenheim. Now this is an interesting one because we have a Paderborn player here, Proga, who's reasonably expensive, but if you just look at his stats, his floor is incredible throughout the whole season. He's pulling in 10 plus points against literally whoever he plays against. Like we see here at Schalke, it's 30 points. Bayern Munich, okay, maybe not against every team, but you know what I mean. He's on all their crosses, all their set pieces. Like we see here, look at the numbers he's putting in crossing wise. 10, 11, 16, 15, or 14. Maybe they just didn't quite get going after the break, and that's why we saw a bit of a drop off here, because the difference between this and this is definitely just all of these crosses, maybe a few shots on goal. We got an assist here as well, so that definitely would have helped out. He's their main sort of playmaker, their main player, who they look to build everything around. If we take a look for Hoffenheim, their main set piece taker is this guy here, Robert Skov. So we're looking really at the two most expensive players who are going to be taking part in this Hoffenheim versus Paderborn game. However, for 7.5k and 8.1k, I think it was, respectively, it's not not too expensive of a price to play. So we look at this guy Skov here, and yeah, he just looks pretty solid. He gets a lot of the set pieces, 7 crosses a game. He's really averaging, and that's just really nice to see. A player who's just going to consistently tick up, and against a weak Paderborn side, we could see him skyrocket, maybe get a goal, get an assist. So I think I'm definitely going to have a reasonable amount of Hoffenheim assets in my team. And yeah, so we've taken a look here at the main set piece takers for the team. Those are the guys you should really kind of just build your team around. They're the main guys, so definitely you want to have at least 1 or 2, maybe even 3 of them. The guys of Gunther being in the defence. Get Skov in there, get Arnold in there. Maybe fit Sancho in if you can. I've tried to fit Sancho in a couple of teams, but it's just about whether you want Sancho and a complete dud player, or 2 players who combined, could get you better than Sancho and a dud. But a lot of people fall into the trap of, Sancho's really good, I'll get him, but they don't look at the sort of the combinations that you actually need to have to get Sancho in. So why don't we just take a quick look at just a few notable players throughout the whole of the slate. So if you have a look here, Kai Havertz, definitely someone who could be considered. It is against Borussia Mönchengladbach, which makes people hold off a little bit more, because it's 2 very good teams going against each other. So it's one of them games where we could see a bit of a stalemate, or we could see the goals flying, and you never know. But Havertz, someone with a great goal scoring record, scored 2 goals on Monday pretty easily. So if he scores another 2 goals, you're going to want to have him in your team. Player is another player who, he gets in good positions, but he does also quite rely on goals to get those points. That's why he's got an FPPG of 14.5. is mainly from the goals. So if he doesn't score, you're going to be looking more at sort of 5 or 6 points. Leon Bailey, Bailey, as I've mentioned this in previous videos, that he's a very good player if he starts. If he starts and you don't have him, you might be at a bit of a disadvantage. He is quite expensive though, so that would, if he was a bit cheaper and he was starting, 100% he'd be in my team. The shots and crosses he provides are just incredible when he plays, and he does actually get on set pieces when he starts. Bellarabi as well, someone to look out for if he starts. This is all again these two guys, Leon Bailey and Bellarabi. If they start, they can blow the whole slate open if they actually play. So definitely ones to look out for. As I said, Thorgan Hazard, another one. It was a weird one with him at the weekend because he wasn't in the lineup to start. Then he started. So those players who maybe forgot to change their lineups had Thorgan Hazard in actually ended up doing really well because he did start. Then we go to Demirbay as mentioned, Progress mentioned. This guy Diaby, he's been very, very good of late. Watched him play on Monday, and he was just getting down that wing, crossing the ball in. That's how he got two assists, just two lovely dink balls into the box, two easy headers, just put into the back of the net. And we really see the dividends of that. He's been getting sort of 10 plus, 15 plus points in his recent games. Although, another player who is quite reliant on getting those goal contributions, and I'm a bit wary of that playing against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Rashika's another one to consider maybe against a bit of a weaker opponent. He looked good in the game that I saw him in the Leverkusen game. He was really the most dangerous player. However, being the most dangerous player but not, getting goals, getting assists. He had a few shots, but he's not on set pieces. So he only came away with like a 6 or 7 point game on Monday, and he was one of the most expensive players on the slate. He was about 9.3 thousand, and the guy who was on about before, this guy Bittencourt, he really just he blew it away for Werder Bremen. So I feel like if you're going to choose, the Bittencourt is definitely going to be the option over Rashika. And then we scroll down a little bit. Thuram's one to mention. I mean, he's a bit cheaper than Player for Borussia Mönchengladbach. He relies even more than Player on the goals. If we take a look at his previous games, if he doesn't score, well, as we see here, if he doesn't score, he's not performing really. So really, he relies on, you're expecting maybe a 4 or 5 point game for Thuram if he doesn't score, and a 7-8 point game for Player if he doesn't score. So, out of the two, it's a tough choice. Thuram's maybe one to fit in there if you're looking for a 7k striker who you think is going to get a goal. Because I feel like Thuram will be low owned, so if he does score, it will definitely send you flying up the leaderboards. As we scroll down here, there's not too much of mention. We've got Hakimi obviously for Borussia Dortmund. If he was a defender, like they put him in the fantasy, maybe more of an inclination to pick him with the potential of clean sheet points. But he's in midfield. He gets some crosses in. He'll get a few assists. 6.6k. It's not a bad price to play when a lot of other players are more expensive. And as we can see, he does have a pretty decent floor. With being a part of the Dortmund team, there's always the potential that he could crop up with a goal, with an assist, all of that good stuff. This guy here, Bensebaini, he didn't play. He didn't play on the weekend. Oh, no. This guy here, Bensebaini, played on the weekend. As we can see, had a great game, a goal and an assist, which makes me feel like he's going to be a bit overpriced for this game. After a player gets a goal and an assist, the price tends to kind of rocket up. And 6.4k for a defender, he's not getting too many crosses in. We can't really be expecting him to get a goal and an assist or a goal every single game. And we do see here he pops up quite a lot with a goal. But especially against the likes of Leverkusen, we're not really expecting that to happen. So maybe I'm going to stay clear of him. This guy, Kaderabak, now he is someone I really did want to mention because we just look at his stats. he might, to be fair, he might be on his fair share. I know I said there was another guy from Hoffenheim that was taking on the set pieces, and I feel like he does, but this guy, Kaderabak, probably has his fair share of set pieces as well. And for 5.9k, these crossing stats are ridiculous. It's someone I'm definitely looking at bringing in my team, because for 5.9k with a floor of around 9 to 10 points, it would be silly not to have him in your team as a filler. Then we scroll down, we had Gunter obviously, and we're getting into the realm. What I haven't discussed so far is goalkeepers. Now we see our first goalkeeper here as Roman Berkey. Now normally the way I like to choose goalkeepers, let's go on the goalkeeper tab. Normally the way I like to choose goalkeepers is I'll tend to go for the cheaper goalkeeper because they tend to give you the most save points, and if they do get a win and a clean sheet, you know, you set them flying, you're getting 20 plus points for a goalkeeper who probably only cost you 3,500. However, looking at this slate, we tend to find goalkeepers at the cheaper end being between 3.5 and 4k. In this slate, however, the goalkeepers, even at the cheaper end, are quite a bit more expensive. And for me, you know, seeing the way Dortmund just dismantled Schalke at the weekend, I don't particularly want to go with Castells. I know he'll be facing a lot of shots, but I just feel against Dortmund, he's going to concede maybe 2-3 goals. I doubt they're going to get the win, so the likelihood is we're really looking for save points. And yeah, I just see it being one of these kind of 2.4, 1.5 games for Castells. So, and he's the cheapest goalkeeper in the state at 4.1 thousand. So really, I think for this week, I'm going to be looking at a bit more premium of an option, because even the cheaper goalkeepers like Pavlenka are 4,500. They're not the favourites to win. However, they're still pretty expensive, where, you know, you can get someone like Pavlenka for 4,500, or you can get someone like Jan Sommer, who has a great chance of winning. Obviously, Leverkusen are a very good side, which makes me think that Jan Sommer could actually face more shots than he normally would. Really, in this game, I'll be looking at Jan Sommer to pick up the win. Not really a clean sheet. I wouldn't really expect a clean sheet from either Jan Sommer or Haradaki. It's one of those where, for me, this week is kind of a choice between Sommer and Haradaki, because they're a bit cheaper than they're normally priced, because it's Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Leverkusen. So for me, it's just which one of these two guys do you think is going to face the most shots, and which one really is going to come out victorious. And Borussia Mönchengladbach, being at home, being third in the league, I think they could probably nip this one, and I like the idea that Sommer, being a very good goalkeeper, is going to face a decent amount of shots against Leverkusen. So hopefully we can see sort of a 20 plus point game for him. Now we take a look at our defender slots. Now, for me, as mentioned, Gunter is someone, I mean, I could put him in the team now. He's locked and loaded, ready to go in my team. Now, if we look at some of the cheaper options here, because you probably know, if you're going to choose Sancho, if you're going to choose Haaland, you're going to want a player who can fill in for a very cheap price. And one of the guys I've been looking at is this guy, Velkovic. Now, he had a very, very good game against Leverkusen. They lost 4-1, and he still managed to pick up a 7.8. And I've seen people talk recently that his form has sort of been picking up recently. He's been getting a lot more tackles, been getting a lot more involved in the game. So for 3k, I think this guy Velkovic is definitely someone to look out for. Tapsoba is another one for Leverkusen. He had a decent game, although he still only came away with 2 or 3 points. So, you know, it's a tough one. Sven Bender, people may look at him, you know, he's a big name, but at the end of the day, he fouls too often. The potential of the yellow card is just too high, and it really does knock your point, especially when you're only expecting maybe a 5, 6, 7 at max. If they go and get a yellow card, you just and concede fouls, you're just really losing out on a lot of points there. We've got the two main guys for Dortmund, Hamilton and Kanji. They'll bring you in solid sort of 4 or 5 pointers every week. Jabril Salise, he's gone up a bit of price. He scored at the weekend, or he scored on Monday actually, for Werder Bremen. Nice little goal. He's out on the right hand side, I think, playing fullback. So he's a player who could get the crosses in, do okay. Singraven. Now this is a guy I wanted to mention. We found him. So Singraven was playing very far forward on that left side against Werder Bremen. He was getting the crosses in. Maybe we won't see as much of an impact for him as they are against Borussia Mönchengladbach. But 4.11k for a defender who's going to get down that line, going to cross the ball in, and potentially get assists, as we see here. Could very well be a good shout. Roussillon as well, plays for Wolfsburg. It's going to be against Dortmund, so it's a hard one to really predict. But he definitely could prop up with a few points. Wendell's been priced down a bit because he didn't start. These two guys are definitely two to consider if they do end up starting, because their price will be a bit lower because they didn't get the starting positions. And we look a bit higher. Visor, there's probably going to be a bit too much hype around this guy. He scored on Monday, which really shot his FPPG up. So I think this guy's probably going to be a bit overpriced. Kevin Mbabu, a player who I'm very intrigued in, a bit of a fan of his, reasonably so. I mean, he brings in a lot of crosses just from the wing. I think most of these crosses aren't even from set pieces. They're just from him bombing down the wing, whipping the ball in. The degree to which we'll actually see that though against Dortmund, again, you never really know how these games are going to go against the bigger teams. If he was playing against someone who was more sort of mid-table, I think I would definitely be putting him in. But paying 5.2 thousand for a defender who is playing against Borussia Dortmund, which basically wipes away the clean sheet potential, and then we're thinking, okay, his main attribute is getting down that wing and crossing the ball in. Is he really going to have much of a chance to do that because he's playing against Dortmund, who are quite a possession-based team? They like to hold on to the ball, will he be given that opportunity to run forward? I definitely think around this kind of price there are better options, like we said, Gunter. I think from my defence, I'm just going to be lobbing in Gunter and a cheaper defender and sort of filling the rest of the team out. Midfielders and forward, we've kind of covered already. Mainly for me, going to be filled with set piece takers. Maybe a few punts here and there, like I said, on Thuram. And, a few players who maybe could come through with a goal, because that's what we're really hoping for. But if you have enjoyed this breakdown of Saturday's games, please do leave a like, subscribe, and I'll be back again at 6 PM tomorrow for another video. Cheers.